So, welcome to our last panel today at DroidCon Berlin. We have a special topic, I heard. It's about skill building and growing in seniority. It sounds curious for me to rephrase it, but we want to get better at one point to rephrase it. We have several panelists, as you can see. What I can say definitely from the beginning, all of them had at least 10 years experience of being a developer, and some of them, at least professionally, whatever that means, we will discuss probably in some minutes. I will start alphabetically, at first with Nicole. She's a tech lead at Clue. I think at least the German ones probably know that, but I think most of the male persons not, but you will learn it hopefully at one point. Then we have Somya. She's a founder from Coderby, a coding community, and for a Night Owl Labs, which is an agency freelancing company. Then we have Frank coming from Kenya. He's a team lead at, I hope I pronounce this correctly, Kiosk?
Yes.
I managed to do it properly. Thank you. At least some people recognize me. Which does digital services. And last but not least, Milos is an engineering manager at Delivery Hero. And we have some topics to discuss with you today. So let me start. So at first, if you have any questions, take one of these three mics, stay behind them so I can see you and give you the next possible questions which you can ask. So, but before we go to some audience questions, I have the most important thing. Why the people are probably here and will tell you something about growing. So it would be nice if you explain how your path was for becoming a senior person, whatever that means, that we will find out hopefully. But not about the companies, but more about your path to being a senior at one point. So, school, what you have learned, and what areas you touched during your working lifetime, or your business lifetime, because life is something else. It's not work, right? We're just working to get money to live, but not the other way around. At least that's how I approach this stuff. So, at first, Somya, what was your path?
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Somya, and I have worked on Android for 10 years now, and I've also worked on different technologies, and I'm a polyglot, so I like to pick up any random tech and just start working. And so my past, basically, let me start with the interesting part. So I did not study computer science. I studied electronics engineering. I was never wanting to do like computer science in my life when I was in my early 20s and like teen. So I was like more of like a hands-on person, soldering and like circuits and kind of thing. But later, it happens in India that mostly I'm from Bangalore, if that's interesting for some of you. So like the interesting part of Bangalore is there are a lot of engineering colleges because there was a software boom, like IT boom in India at some point. And like a lot of top agencies and companies come to colleges and pick up like the cream of the people, good Lord, whatever. Like we have 2 tiers, 3 tiers where people come and recruit people, and then we already have a job before you even graduate. So we are like already going to bigger companies, and they have like a great ILP programs, which is initial learning programs, and you don't have to know even computer science. Like you can go as a mechanical engineer, and they will train you everything in computer science if they want to, right? So that's the kind of background I came from, and then I got into a company, and I started working with Citibank North America, which is like for the first 3 years of my life, going from electronics to like PeopleSoft, which is, I don't know, like if you've heard about it, but there is, it's a CRM, and there's people code, which you write in, and it's a language. Yeah, that's true. And so I learned that, I did that, and in 2012, I realized I don't want to do this because of my career. And I saw there was a lot of glass ceiling, nepotism, and I was not getting like promoted and not getting good appraisal, so I just left, quit this company, and decided I should never go back to MNCs. So that was in 2012, and then I started Android engineering right then, fresh, open source communities, got into communities, And ever since, I'm a part of Bangalore Droid community. And in 2015, actually, I moved to Berlin. And for the last 7 years, I'm working in the IT startup industry, mostly working for smaller startups, never for like more than 200 people company, I think. So that's what I prefer. And yeah, it was quite an interesting journey, I would say. Still roller coaster. Ups and downs are always there, but we just learn and move on and learn how to deal with it, I think. So yeah, that's pretty much.
Thank you. It's quite interesting how it's changed and having a new country also. Probably a new country comes for you as well, Nicole, right?
Yeah, Vid. Well, hello, I'm Nicole. I'm actually not even engineering technology. Actually, I studied biotechnology engineering. So there are some pictures of me doing some petri dishes somewhere. I participated in some biology contests sometimes. But coding was always my hobby, and I was a hungry student, so I started coding when I was in college. I actually started as an iOS developer. So yeah.
Everyone has bad paths, right? You see?
I know, as I said, it's interesting paths, I guess. I'm from Mexico, by the way. So yeah, at my little company at the time, they basically just asked around like, hey, we need to do also the Android applications, you know? Who's going to learn that? And I was the lucky one that took it. And since then, I never came back. That was 12 years ago. I have no idea. Numbers are funny with COVID times, you know. So yeah, been working for several projects, a lot of consultancies, and here I am in Berlin since 2 years and something ago.
We're happy to have you in Berlin, like all of you today. So, Milos, what's your way path?
So, I actually did study computer science in university. I don't know if I'm the excuse here. Seems like it. Also, I didn't have any flirting with iOS either, just so you know. Yeah, so I studied computer science, but actually the interesting part of the story happened before going into college. I built, like in my bedroom, I built an app for like unlocking your computer screen through an alternative method. And due to an NDA, I cannot say which company stole it / bought it. But yeah, this was when I was like 16. And basically, through that experience, which was a random coding experience in my bedroom, I found out that this can actually be a career and this can actually be interesting. So then, yeah, the only way forward was through going to computer science and doing this tech stuff. Since then, yeah, it's been Android and a bit of backend and whatnot. So, yeah, I think just started early on for me, and there was nothing else to do really. So.
It's still by the time he's still coding, so sometimes in his free time when he's not an engineering manager anymore.
Also in my bedroom, yeah.
We don't go on that topic for now, at least. So I just hand over immediately to Frank. So what's your experience before we go more into some bad stories?
Yeah, so I don't have a bedroom story, but mine is more. Yeah, so mine is more. I was called to like university to do Bachelor of Arts in economics and political science, and there was like some French there, and then I dropped out. There was like a long holiday in second year, and then we had a strike and we burnt down some things in the school. And then when we burnt down some things in the school, we were given like, it was a 9-month holiday. And that's when I met some of my friends and they started teaching me how to code, ActionScript actually, with Flash. Yes, we have fans, yes. So then I wrote some code with ActionScript. First job was actually a web thing to just create like that slider panel at the top of websites. And yeah, I was paid around $450 and I was really happy. Did comparisons and I was like, you know what, I'm a rich person, dropped out of school. Best or worst decision ever, I don't know. But I picked up computer programming and it was like a fun thing, you know. Get someone, teaches you more or less like apprenticeship. Get to do some work, and then the switch, mostly web. And then I switched to, and I really loved UI and just that whole bit of like animations. And then around 2012, 13, I sort of like managed to get a laptop. I was robbed, And I thank God for the robbers because they switched me to Android, and I've never looked back, by the way. So that the robber did a very good thing. And yeah, I've just been in Android, and the first Android job, like employment that I had, was with Intel, and they're expanding like to Africa. So did some work for them, left, started a coding bootcamp, one of the first in Africa, and then left that, traveled for like I think 3 or 4 or 5 years. Worked at Snap, left Snap, did some other things like learning how to swim, like save people who are drowning. Then after that, now I am currently at Kiosk. So that's my journey. Yes.
Nice.
Really interesting and different persons here, and all of them coming to Berlin now. Well, I was the lazy one. I was just sitting here all since I was born in Berlin, and now still sitting here, as you see, and talking with these wonderful persons who have created some skills over the time. So what was the skills which you think was the most important for you as a person? Not just for the company. Of course, the company always gives you skills that they can earn money through you. But what you think was the ones which bring you to the next step, to the place where you are now? So who wants to take over this question? Or
I can start, yeah. So let me not talk on the technical side. I think for me was, I believe deeply in my heart that I'm good with people, and I'm good with communication. That's for me is like, I feel like that's what has helped me all through in my career. And just that ability to sort of like articulate, seek clarity is one thing. For me is like everything. So for instance, when I was starting out, when you give me a task and I do not understand and you're a senior, I will really be at pains to get clarity from you. Like, hey, you say I need to implement the screen. How are you thinking about doing it? And I'm not afraid to look silly or stupid because I'm like, hey, I don't know. If I don't know, I don't know. So I think for me, number one was just that whole bit of being able to communicate, talk to people, ask questions where I really knew, like at the end of it all, we know where we are, our levels, right? So if you do not know how to, let's say, use RoomDB, it's not a bad thing to just go and ask someone, hey, do you have resources on this? How can I improve myself on this area? And also being able to sort of like talk and communicate with people upwards and downwards. Downwards is people who are, sorry, and also your level. So downwards is anyone who is like your junior, and across is people in the same team, because you do not want to be it's being recorded and kids will watch this. So you do not want to be a bad person. Let me use the word bad person. You know what I mean. And yeah, so since you do not want to be a bad person, it's good. And also for the senior guys, you also want to respect their time and also be a very efficient person and have these very meaningful conversations with them. So I think key skill for me was just being able to talk to people. Communication was, for me, is like the thing. Yeah. Let me not finish everything because I know they have.
fine. Nicole, you are nodding, so what's
Sure, I can take over. I resonate with Frank. Like, I agree that communication is one of the big things, and something that he mentioned that is really important is understanding that everybody with which you interact in this, companies, work, everything, they're people. Like, it doesn't matter if it's a CTO, it doesn't matter if it's a junior developer. If you just, treat people with respect, like human beings, that goes a long way. And it shows, just, it's important. And I think the second kind of skill that I've noticed that has helped me a lot is, besides asking questions, is really trying to understand why things are happening, like not just accepting the response as it comes, but really try to understand what it is and trying to, dig a little bit deeper and not just taking them as face value. So it's just like that questioning, really being curious and going deeper, that has helped me a lot. Like learning technical stuff, learning leadership skills, and talking with people in general. So there's that.
Soumya, do you have any
Yeah.
opinion?
So I obviously just want to add more. Of course, I absolutely agree with both of you. And what I feel is, as an engineer, how I developed is I'm self-taught. I'm still teaching myself different technologies, and I constantly try to keep up with what's happening around me. So I feel like at any point in time, as an engineer, I have to be curious about what's going on around me. I have to, that's basic for an engineer to be like an explorer, be a scientific person who wants to explore, who wants to be curious, and not believe everything. And I have to see for myself, right? And yeah, that being said, I think self-learning doesn't end ever, so we have to keep learning, be it personality development, emotional intelligence, be it your skill sets, what you require to actually do your job. All aspects, I feel like all aspects have to be covered to successfully work with people, and EQ is like the topmost thing that you have to hone yourself, which nobody tells you. So to build confidence, to be kind and nice and not be difficult, and to be understanding and make other people around you like their lives easy a little bit, that is like a top quality, I think. And by building emotional intelligence, by showing empathy, just practicing that takes a lot of learning. So you have to actually learn to also hone your soft skills. So soft skills are like super important, and it also covers communication, being kind, etc. And like I said, as an engineer, you have to spend at least 1 hour a day. It says, a book says, studies say, like if you, at any skill set you are working upon, say Android, you have to spend at least 1 hour a day, 5 hours per week to actually learn something new. And it could be also on your job, doesn't have to be like dedicated hour, but you learn something new that you didn't know that would make you like up to date and yeah, like very relevant to present. And I think that's very important. Yeah, soft skills and also your skill set. Honing both of them together is crucial in my opinion.
Milos, what's your thoughts on that?
So yes, everything was more or less covered by the panel.
But you know, you want also discussions on the panel. Not everyone should have the same opinion. So
I would,
different thing would help here.
I don't want to be the unpopular opinion. It's no. I want to add one thing, which is like the more junior you are, I feel like you try to solve more problems on your own and get stuck more often. And I think that helps with learning new things. One example is like when I was learning about building the websites or apps, of course there is some login screen. I want to build a login screen, so how do I do that? I need some backend. So how do I do backend? Like you Google how to do backend. Today it would like throw in invalid something, but you know, like back then it was do PHP and XAMPP stack or LAMP stack or something.
And use an HTXS file, right?
Exactly. It was like, yeah, do this stuff and then, you know. So yeah, exactly. So people learn PHP through pain, and and in the end you learn a lot of new languages, you learn new frameworks, you learn new concepts. You waste a lot of time, but in the end it's, I think, all useful. So on top of everything that was said, I would also assume this is useful to try.
I'll jump immediately to the topic where you said juniors. So what are the things you are, especially a lot of people are not juniors probably here sitting around, or even if not, you try to get new juniors to your team, and what you should normally look into these people. So what is the thing that you want from a junior before you say, I want to hire him and I want to work with him? So, because that also helps some other people to find the right person for their team. Of course, not everyone is the same. I appreciate that everyone is the same, otherwise I wouldn't sit here probably. So what is the things that you are looking for in an interview with a junior before they come to the stage where they now become the senior, because everyone has to start somewhere, right?
Maybe I can start with one. So I would say it's like looking for a deep desire to learn new things. And yeah, the skill set will come with experience, avoiding common pitfalls, avoiding common problems. This all comes with experience, but the core, I believe, is that you need to be really interested and really eager to learn new things. So yeah, I would start with that one.
And you know the evidence for this, just to build on him, what he said, is if you, maybe someone is asking like, how can I show that out when I'm applying for a job as a junior? It's pretty much easy, you know. Nowadays I've seen more companies are moving towards saying, hey, we need to see that you've actually built something and publish it on the Play Store. So even if you're starting out in Android development, you can save up $25 and get a Play Store account, build something on GitHub, and just deploy it, have it on the Play Store. 1 app, 2 apps, 3 apps, 4 apps, 5 apps. And they don't need to be really complex. And again, complexity is just something we think about, but it could be anything. an alarm or something. The app that got me there were like 3 apps that got me the job at Intel were basically an alarm app. Just like I was like, yeah, we could use this for anything, baking, meditating, or whatever. And it was really easy. You put in time. After some time, it's just like it vibrates, or you can change and add like voices or something. This was like back in 2012, 2013, around that time. And then others were like just 2 HTML5 games. That was it. And just putting those things on GitHub and people getting to like see them was like the foundational. And so nowadays, I take a keen interest in saying, yes, you're a junior. Yes, I know you've probably not worked so much and you do not know so many things, but just send me a link to like your GitHub repository. And I'll go through it and just see like, oh, okay, he's playing around with this and this and this. Oh, wait, he's actually published them. That's like a very nice, nice to have, because it actually says, hey, I'm interested in Android. I have done these things. I can look at your code and I can say like, okay, fine. He or she knows this, but you can also change it, and like there's a certain thing that I'm starting with when you're actually working with you. So
Zomia, you have an own company compared to all of the others here who doesn't earn their own money. And
We're fakes here, I know.
So what would you look for as a junior if you want to hire him? Or he's whatever.
Them, okay. So the most important thing, obviously, potential to learn and passion for what they're doing, and to see if they're having fun. I really love seeing if they're having fun when they're learning and they're having fun building stuff. That spark is very easy to catch, And if someone's really motivated and they're building stuff by themselves without nobody asking them or to show any resume, then that's like the best case, because then they're really driven engineers who would actually do it themselves if given a chance. So they're like self-learned or even self-motivated people. And that's really what I look for, like the passion to learn, passion to build and create stuff. And the skills which people actually ask on the resume can be taught easily to anyone in a week or 2 weeks, or maybe in a small, short duration of time based on their skills, of course. So that definitely, I think, is the top. Yeah.
So Nicole, a small abbreviation to the question. You said you're not coming from a computer science background. I really happy about that people who doesn't have computer science still doing some stuff and bringing us something which is not really just logic. Don't get me wrong. So what would you say for yourself? What would you give you as a recommendation for your past junior self? What you should have done differently?
Well, I would probably have picked another career, but
You have started early computer science. One thing I would guess.
I should have, saved me a couple of years of trying to do biotechnology stuff and then realizing that it was not for me. But anyway, without that in there, I think since coding was already my hobby, it was not like a really huge jump. And since I started with really like start-to-be environments, for me the movement was not that hard, to be fair. If any, I would probably have tell me like, hey, just forget about that crappy Objective-C before, like take this Android like wholly, and probably should have started with that before.
Milos, you said you started coding with 16, which I say was really young age for me. Don't forget some others who starting with 6. I just started with 22, but still I'm sitting here. I'm allowed to sit with these awesome people. So what would be recommendation to a 16-year-old person?
Stay in bed.
No.
Let's go to bed and sleep and learn something with school.
Enjoy
That's one
life.
thing I would recommend, but what's your opinion on that?
No. Actually, I would say build more, even more. And also, I know it was not back then. I believe we only had SourceForge or maybe something like that. So I would say open source as much as you can and build more. The amount of feedback I got for open source stuff is incredible, and also building. The more you build, the more you learn, of course. So, for someone who is 16, full of energy, hasn't given up on things yet, it's extremely nice.
Has it changed now? You don't have any energy left?
No, today no.
Okay, well, that's an excuse after 3 days of a conference.
3 days conference.
That you are a little bit exhausted.
On Monday we continue.
With work.
Thank you.
I always destroy dreams. But at least you have a holiday to relax till Monday morning. What would be your suggestion, recommendation for you?
Yeah. Actually, like, I just want to comment on what Milos was saying. So it was quite interesting because he was asking to build more for 16-year-olds. I would rather not. So, I mean, there are a lot of things that you learn and develop in a very young age, which is kind of like empathy and compassion. Those are coming by exposure and experiences. And coming from India, I just visited India. I was like there for 5 months, and it's like crazy going around like looking at 6-year-olds doing programming, which is really sad in my opinion, because there are like some apps which are teaching dedicatedly children how to code, and there'll be a generation of engineers coming out of India to code. And it's really scary because then you're not teaching them the most important EQ skills. Rather, you're just, manufacturing engineers. So I think there should be a balance, definitely, and don't spend all the time coding, of course. But if you're passionate about something that moves you, for instance, for me, sustainability space, climate tech space, I like building something in that area. If you're passionate about some project, or like he said, some screen or something that moves you, you should start building that and go in that direction, because then you're most likely to stick. And the grit is the most important skill to learn coding. And you just have to show up every single day and keep trying and fail. So grit is super important, which is why you have to take it easy and still not give up, which means not burning out and still having fun. And that balance to find is really, really hard, even for seniors or any person for that matter. So always find a balance, whether you're a junior or a senior or any level, along with learning, making it fun, making it passionate in the area you like, and also like having fun with it. That's going to keep you going for a long time. Otherwise, you can't code for like 20 years and still be happy with coding. So yeah, I think, yeah.
Nicole, want to say?
Yeah, if I may add, just resonating with what you're saying, I think I have a nice advice for myself a couple of years back, and is remember that I don't need to know everything, because I think that at some point when I was super junior, I was like super stressed because I was the only Android dev in the company. And I was like the expectation on myself, from myself, that I should be the expert in there, and just, to understand that it's fine not to know. And it's okay to say, I don't know. And the idea that you are not the only person responsible, that's why you have a team. So there's that.
That's a very good point, yeah.
Also, there are a lot of memes outside if you look on the internet. People saying, you come from the university, you say, I know everything now. You start your work, become more senior level. At one point, you say, OK, I know somehow. And if you became an expert level, you say, I know nothing. So have that in mind. You always learn, and you know nothing at one point. Even the experts say they know at one point and not everything. So always be brave with yourself at that point and to think about this stuff. But so what would mean seniority for you? Because we said we have seniority, and until now we not really talked about what seniority means for a person here on the stage. So Frank, what's seniority for you?
Seniority for me, let's say you're a senior Android developer, right? So seniority for me is you as a senior Android developer, one, you should be able to mentor people. Like, that's just it. Like, how else do we know that you are a senior? Like, you're able to provide this guidance to people. You're able to say like, hey, you know what, by the way, I know this guy, I know this guy, and I know this guy, and I can actually mentor them. I've taken them from point A and taken them to point B. So that's who a senior is for me. That's number one. Number two is, I know like some of the people who are seated here are probably wondering like, how come you guys are not telling us specific things that we need to know in Android? And then we like, like we can go and apply this, and so like this checkbox, like we can give you. And I think one thing I just tell you is this. I think when you move to these senior levels, one is I feel like for me, senior, and I've interacted with like many senior engineers here, and like having those conversations with just like, hey, so what do you do? what are the things you do? And I compare to what we do in our organization, it's like it's totally different. Because, for instance, if you're a senior at our organization, is on top of the fact that you need to know, let's say if you're an Android backend, doesn't matter, is architecture is something that you need to know. Like, you need to know the architecture, but it's the why in the architecture. I think it has been mentioned that know the why of doing things. So why are you choosing this architecture? And I think I'm a fan of, if you come to me and tell me clean architecture, I'll be like, what does that mean? You know? So if you drop a buzzword, and I like calling them buzzwords, like, what does that clean architecture mean? Why are we going that way? Why are we using MVVM? No? Might MVP be a good alternative? You get? So knowing the why of doing that architecture is very important. Number three as a senior is, under that whole tech skills thing, is yes, you do know the fundamentals. Yes, you do know the language. But it's the ability to actually, there's a process of debugging. And by that I mean, if there's an error, and I've seen this with like some guys, it's like you see an error and we just start coding and we do not know where the error is coming from. Like that skill of being able to debug very well is good. And also being able to do pair programming with someone where you're not the person coding. They are the person who is coding. Like the junior is the person coding and not you who is coding. And just having that patience, because I feel like that's one of the things that people really assume. And as you get to these more senior roles, one of the things that has become interesting over the last couple of years is not only having one Android, like, yes, you're good in Android, that's good with Kotlin, but try playing around with other things, you know? Are you looking at, let's say, how is Scala solving things? How is Go solving things? Even PHP, for instance. And I know it creates a lot of confusion and everyone's like, no, you should like specialize. The reason is you get to have a different way of looking at solving a problem and not from the eyes of Kotlin alone. You can have a Go way of looking at things, a C++ way of looking at things, a PHP way of doing things. Most people bash PHP, but I bet you if you took a survey, probably 99% of people here have coded PHP.
Could be. Milos, what's you thinking? What do you think makes a person a seniority person?
I would add one thing onto that, which is being fast at realizing things are not black and white. So if you're facing a problem or facing like a challenge, whether it's technical or mentoring challenge or whatever, realizing that there isn't only one solution and there is nothing perfect, and it's always a gray zone, and the answer is always it depends. And just being very fast at getting to that point to say, well, it depends. I think that's a big one.
But does that help people to understand what that means? To say it depends.
It doesn't help to understand, but it helps understand what senior thinks. Maybe.
Well, it depends, right?
It depends, exactly.
So, Zomia, what would be your point at something?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, I mean, for just a general view, seniority depends on where you are at and how you feel, so how confident you are, I think. But I feel like if you ask me what is the role of a senior person in a team, that would be a little bit different. Seniority could be like senior level, junior level, entry level, or it could be like how a senior should behave or what should they do. I would like to answer this latter question, which means that as you grow, you realize you've been through that journey and someone is still going through that journey, which means they need help. And they might not be very proactive in asking for help, which is why I think a lot of complaints I hear, and a lot of people were actually asking me to talk about it on the panel, is that having the seniors who are like ninjas, superstars, who doesn't want to talk to people is the most toxic environment ever to be. So don't be that person. You know?
The one thing is, if you are a senior and you are toxic, you are not a senior.
Yes, you're not being that senior what other people are expecting you to be, and that's not good for the team, and it's not good for anyone around who's working with you. And also, like one person really mentioned that some people, even with 10 years of experience, look at say with one year of experience of a woman as a threat and don't want to show them anything and want to go back and code and then be like, now review, you know, don't want to pair program. So that is another thing I always talk about a lot in the communities, that if you're a senior, you should be able to very cogently communicate your concepts to juniors and make them understand the similar concepts you know. So that's again circling back to the point that emotional intelligence, which is like articulation and communication, as you grow in seniority, becomes super important, more than the juniors. So that is where you have to focus on. And yeah, mentorship, which if people don't ask for it, you still can do it. You don't have to be an official mentor, a dedicated person with a responsibility getting paid for it. You can still share knowledge and bring them up to speed and do code reviews and pair programming sessions, which if you're not, I totally recommend for people in every company. In fact, I ask Anna, who's not working with me, sometimes to pair with me to see if I'm, just to talk my thoughts out. So it's very important to have a person or someone to just talk your thoughts out and articulate how you're thinking, because that's one of the most efficient ways to learn. And that's how they learn, and that's how you learn way more, because I can give you an example of one company I worked with as kind of a junior with 2 years or 3 years of experience. And in fact, we both were coding way, way more together than one person separately on the same ticket, right? So companies don't realize that pairs work very well. People work very well in pairs if they get to know each other, and if they're nice to each other, and if they can communicate with each other well. So then you get things done quickly without feeling the emotional burden, and you can go back feeling productive about yourself, feeling good about yourself. So definitely recommend pair programming, whichever level you are. And if you want to check out anything that you don't know how to program, it is intimidating initially for any level of people. But if you want to try, I recommend you to do some research. And I also gave a talk. I can share my slides and talk if you want. So that would be my top recommendation for seniors to help juniors to get better at what they do.
Thank you. But before the people get bored because of my questions, I know I love to ask all the questions.
I'm not worried.
Thank you. But I wanted to give to the audience a chance to give also a question.
Yes, thank you. I think I'm going to ask something that you just talked about, but I'm interested to hear what others think. And specifically, you talked a lot about soft skills, mentoring, communication. When we learn technical skills, I would say it's a bit easy to know if I succeeded or not, right? Either it works, let's say, or it doesn't. But with the software skills, it's first of all, I would be interested to hear how do you improve, how do you grow these skills, and how do you evaluate yourself? How can you tell, okay, maybe I'm lacking that, or I'm getting better at that?
I can start with that one. I'm a big fan of active feedback, and I think that's the easiest way you can really know if you're improving or not. Just ask the people around you. The best way to learn soft skills is practicing them, of course. So if you're working with a team, I highly encourage you to start doing some activities together. As I was mentioning, pair programming. Try to do some, I don't know, take ownership of some projects or tickets or whatever you want to get your hands dirty with, and just ask for feedback. There's a lot of resources online about hey, how to become the perfect soft-skilled person, whatever. But there's no magic recipe that we can share you. It depends, of course, on your context, on what are you good at, but just ask feedback. If you want, just have it anonymous, have it open, but that's the easiest way, in my opinion, and that's how I have improved.
And even just to add one more thing to what Nicola said, as you're giving the feedback, ensure, as you're giving the feedback.
That's a whole new topic
Yeah,
to give it.
don't, as you said, there's no silver bullet, and it's a wide topic. We can give, I don't know, 16-hour talk on just continuously, let's hammering it. But just ensure you've created a safe space for these guys. So good example is you do not give feedback from the start, and then all of a sudden you are asking, and I give you feedback, and you're well, I think you're the one with the problem because you do not hear me all the time. I've told you these things, trust you me. The next time you ask for that feedback, they'll be yeah, everything is fine. then everything is fine, and you'll be like, yeah, you know what, I'm a good communicator, until an anonymous feedback is sent, and then they're like, that's the worst person ever to work with, so.
Yeah, that's an important one. Like, ask for feedback, but really be open to it and understand that you're asking in order for you to grow, not to just receive critique. And I think that's an important difference.
Also, not just being open, also thanking the person who gave the feedback.
Exactly, because it's work. It's hard to give and receive feedback.
I have an idea which I implement, and also it's like quite normally how I evaluate. Like, so if you ask like through official sources and like formats, it's a little like too like uptight, and it's not easy to give because you have to think hard. Like, should I say this? Should I not say this? So it's really hard. So just be easy. Just take a person out to coffee, go for lunch, and just be like, so what do you think? Just go for a beer. Just ask when you're easy, don't go, like, if you really need a feedback to improve, that's how you go. Like, find people who you feel safe with, who are nicer, and you just ask them. Even they could be your CDO, your mentor, whoever it is, right? You like them, and you go out with them and be like, during lunch, you start talking, and that's the best way to get feedback, first-hand feedback, and they will actually give you pointers to improve. Rather than tell you you're bad at it, they would tell you, just do this, read this book, do this, go to the community, look at this, So I feel like that's how I improved being, trying to communicate with people and connect with people. Because you would start feeling differently in the environment, you start feeling easier if you're able to connect with people, and yeah, if it's a nicer environment. Yeah.
Does that answer your questions for now? Wonderfully. Just hand over to the next mic. I'm so happy people asking questions to us.
Hi, thanks for also this topic. I think it's a super fascinating and good topic in general. I'm Jan, I'm the technical team lead at Check24 Profis, and responsible for 11 people. And one of the first things I tell people usually is to invest in technical skills, but they, as you already mentioned, grow by themselves by just throwing time at it and interest, but also that you should invest in general knowledge that you can take over to other projects, like soft skills, right? I have a question for you guys. Do you agree on the one side that having technical skills is 1/3, the other 2 parts are communication and responsibility? I don't think you touched responsibility just yet, but normally, like you want people to be responsible, and I think that's what you see the differences most of the time. The higher skill level you get, like you are no longer responsible for only your own topics, but also responsible for the rest of your team, the rest of your company, the rest of your business, and of course communication skills. Not only like talking and asking questions to get clarification, which is super important, but also to do technical documentations on everything that counts into that. So it's not only like talking communication, right? It's also like being clear how you code, being clear how you document, and so on. Would you agree with this 3 parts part?
I hope to have a discussion. No one should agree, but feel free to go whatever you like.
Yeah, I also think it should.
Probably we should try to get someone else.
Yeah, sure. Sorry. Go ahead.
Milos.
Well, you said I need to disagree, so I disagree.
Sorry, then just agree and.
So is the question in particular about like having 3 parts exactly of the same size, like 33.3%? No, I would say it's more than 3 parts. I don't have a clear answer on what, but I would agree that it's more than just technical, more than just soft skills, and responsibility. I don't know what's the percentage. I would say there is more to it than 3.
If I may interject, again, each company and requirements for each of the positions and companies varies, of course. Like probably for some small startup, you're required to have more responsibility and more like soft skills to relate to the other people. But in a more like biggish corporate kind of company, probably the seniors are not going to be that involved on kind of decision taking, yada yada yada. I understand your point. I don't have like strong numbers. I normally don't, take time on what I'm doing. But I agree on the sense that me as a senior, I've been coding less time than when I was a junior. And I'm not saying that I don't have the technical knowledge. I think I invest more time like on the planning and architecturing of step, or like reviewing PRs or reviewing that the solution that is being proposed makes sense. So I would qualify that as also a technical / responsibility side of things. So it's kind of like a whole pool together. I couldn't just, split them in percentages, but I definitely have code less. Like I see less code of mine in PRs and stuff, but I definitely still have the technical knowledge. And soft skills are really important, and this is something that I was going to mention, the seniority part. It's that I think as senior, and the main thing I see as a difference is that a senior think for the team and the product, not only for themselves and their code. And I think that's the key difference in my opinion. I don't know if that makes any sense.
I would understand where he's coming from when he says responsibility. Because I feel like maybe he had us split the pie into 2 equal parts, and he was like, how come they're not mentioning responsibility? And I know it comes from, it's like that, I'd say like it's / ownership inside it. Because I always think when you go to these interviews and they ask you this question of, tell me about a time when. There's usually like a formula for answering that question. And the key things that they're looking at is usually like, did you show ownership and responsibility in the thing that you did there, right? And so, and in most cases you find guys are mostly scared of taking up responsibility. And by responsibility and ownership is, I am afraid to do something and to make a mistake, I don't know, for whatever reason. And so I feel like, yes, in as much as, I know we did not mention 100% of things. We just covered one aspect. And by the way, everyone who is seated here, just don't walk away from this thinking that, yeah, they just rubbished technical. Technical aspect is relevant. No, technical is important. These are the things that probably will not be talked about somewhere else. But like the ownership part and the responsibility it's the thing that sort of like empowers or drives the rest of the things, right? So if you're not, I mean, responsibility and ownership is a basic thing as if I commit to doing something, it can mean so many things, right? I've been given a ticket. It's within a specific timeline. How do I own it? How am I showing that I'm actually responsible for this thing, right? And it starts showing from the time like you're a junior and you're growing up all the way. And I kid you not, anyone here who is a junior, the more ownership, the more responsibility you show, the more trustworthy you become within the organization. That you're that person who I will commit to something, even if I fail at it, at the deadline, I will still come out and say, yes, I committed to 2 days, but I need more time because I don't know these things, and I need to spend more time like that. So that bit of like owning your journey, owning your story, owning and being responsible for all those things, both the good and the bad, I think it's actually a fair thing, and not just being afraid, you know. So we can list a bunch of things, but I think like these panels are usually a way for us to kickstart conversations by the beer and coffee and pizza and whatever. Yeah. So yeah.
There's pizza?
Outside somewhere.
Okay, Frank invites us, you heard?
Yeah, great, Frank. You're going to invite us. But just
sure.
just to add to that, I agree on what we're saying of explaining, but I insist that I wouldn't separate responsibility as a separate thing. I would say like that's kind of the basis on the seniority kind of level and expectations, because there's a certain expectation that you as a senior know how to react and how to handle things. So other people has like the, I don't know, confidence or trust that if they assign you something, you're going to take ownership of it. So I wouldn't split it, as I said, on percentages and stuff. I just say like responsibility is just always there. But yeah, it's more soft skills.
1 second, I just want to add one aspect which no one mentioned, which is definitely nothing, is time is not an aspect of being a senior. Because in my last 20 years, I had a lot of people saying, well, I'm already 3 years in mid-level developer, and why I'm not a senior. It has nothing to do with time. You are the person who got the next steps because who you are and what you are. And like Milo said, there's no real rule. We say, I have to check all these stuff and then I'm a senior. Sometimes it's a different thing, but I just wanted to jump in because no one mentioned it. So yeah, feel free.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Like, there's no partition when it comes to any of this. And it's all different. Like, they're not intersecting in any way, in my opinion. So it's very complex to understand. And it's not true. I wouldn't say juniors don't have responsibilities on seniors do. I would never agree to this statement.
Everyone is awake
Someone's
now?
pissed. Okay, so I'm just saying, if you look at a role, there will be written responsibilities for a JD. You know, job description has responsibilities. Even if you want an entry-level job, there are responsibilities. You're not completely free of anything. If you're going for a job, you have to do it. So responsibility for other people, you mean, which I totally understand, which is a different skill. That's a managerial skill. That is not intersect. You can have both skills, you know, and EQ is required for all skills, be it a manager or, and this responsibility falls under both. And that's why I would say it's all different in different areas.
Also, because we have short time, does that answer your question? Two persons will answer your question, I would say, because I have also one quitter question which I want to give to the panel. Feel free.
Hi. What do you think are the differences between like a senior engineer and a lead engineer? And how does one go about moving from one step to the other?
I think Hassan should answer this.
She's a lead. She can answer.
I am.
At least I saw it. Okay.
I can. Yeah.
I can attempt to answer it. So lead versus senior. Lead in most organizations, it's on top of the seniors, right? If you draw the organizational structure. But the lead is all the time a senior engineer who has just shown more of the skills that those senior engineers have, right? So they are probably more trusted by engineering leadership. I wouldn't say more than the others. I'll just say like they're just more trusted. The other bit also, you've shown more initiative. And these initiatives could be like anything. So I know people who are usually scared of just like suggesting something and going ahead and just like making mistakes and just deciding to own up about them, with a bit of like improving the business side of it. And I'll give that example of, by the time you're moving to more or less like a tech lead, your inclination is not only on code, but you're also, to an extent, your eyes are set on the business KPIs. So you're not only thinking about my code works well, our PRs are good, we write tests, oh, I'm good in communicating. No, you also know how to intersect not only within, let's say like Android, right? Not only within Android, but you can work with backend, you can work with designers and not cause conflict. And 90% of the time, if you're being evaluated as a tech lead as a lead, they will look at feedback can be obtained from both the designers, the web guys, the back-end guys, people who you work with within your squad, or a certain business unit that you have. So for seniors, yes, you're maybe confined within one area, but more or less like when you move to that whole role of like tech lead, you really have to be able to play around with everywhere. Plus, very important people, engineering managers, like, yes, exactly. So they actually help with this thing. So you can be a tech lead and you're mostly like on an quote-unquote IC route, individual contributor. And if you're on that route also, we do assume that you do not need to have management skills, but you do need to have them. Because remember, your customer is not the end user. You're not building features, but it's other senior developers or other developers within the team. Yes.
If I may add to that, it also touches back to the responsibility part. Is a senior developer has different set of responsibilities and expectations inside a company, and as a lead, as Frank was mentioning, there's expectation that you're going to be able to think about the business, think about what is best also for the team, and how to, make sure things work, basically. And your second question on how you move from a senior role to a lead role, I'll say it again, depends.
Companies.
Yeah, depends on the companies, depends on what is really needed at the moment. Like if there's of course, a certain mix of luck, initiative, showing leadership skills, really caring about the team and what you're doing. If you kind of showcase those things and really aim for that, it's just a matter of the job being open and you showcasing those things. But the best kind of recommendation I can give you is just to don't be afraid and take the opportunities. Like if there's a certain project that is going to start or a ticket that it's super hard to handle or whatever, it's going to require a lot of communication among different teams, just take it. Just practice, try to polish those communication skills, polish those, mentoring other people and really doing the extra effort to understand what is the context of the company and what is the context of your team, that's going to go a long way.
Okay, that's the two answers for you, and I'm seeing you are happy. And so we've just finished the discussion panelist part with the last Twitter question which we have, or one of these. So what do you recommend to people who feel they don't have opportunities enough to grow in the company because of their overwhelmed with non-challenging work they got? So what would you say, Milos, to that? As an engineering manager, just work more?
I feel attacked here. Again, the engineer is concerned that the work they're doing is not challenging enough, and that's the main reason blocking progress, like career progress.
What would be your recommendation as their team? Let's expect I'm your team member, you are my boss.
You're fired.
You see, I got a new job. I'm open for new recommendations. So
Open to new positions.
So what would you tell to the persons?
So
from engineering manager point.
From
Then afterwards, the person point, what you would really say.
From my point of view, I would like to actually hear about it openly. The feedback topic that was mentioned previously, it's extremely important, of course. I also think that it's a matter of team culture or company culture to provide feedbacks and to ensure that it's very clear in the job requirements that your soft skills need to be on a level where you can communicate feedback well enough, and also maybe potentially request feedback on your own. So from my position, I would like to hear about it directly and openly from the employee. Like, I don't feel challenged. I feel like that's the main reason that's blocking the progress. So
now to the next part of my question. I come not to personally at you, I'm a community friend of you and telling you I'm not challenged at work, they give me a lot of so I can grow. What would be then your answer?
Tell your manager that you are...
So what's the other thinking? What would your answer be? Frank, you're nodding and not really on the same opinion.
I agree what you said, by the way. Just go and tell
many engineers here, I see.
No, let me tell you why. The reason is highly likely when you feel like your career I'm not being challenged enough, or stagnated, is two things. It could be that you're not trusted enough and you don't know about it. And so you go ahead talking to your friends and saying, yeah, but they don't care, they don't give enough challenges, but just because we just don't trust you enough to give you higher level of responsibility or tasks. The other bit could be that if you feel like you need more of this, then I think the best thing to do is just go and kickstart that whole conversation and start taking up more tasks. When you have your sprint planning, if you're part of it, just say, hey, I think I can do this. Or I'm a fan of look for work within the organization. So I do that a lot anywhere I go. So I'll probably look at something that is probably a bug that has been there for the longest time, and I'd be like, yo, by the way, we could fix this problem. We could reduce our Android build speeds, for instance. And if I solve that, they start looking at, by the way, he solved this. So
Zomia, you're coming from freelancing area. You don't have to get the people and stay always on the same company. What would be your answer now?
Yeah, I would always look inside to see why I'm not happy and what is that challenging thing I'm looking for, because it's never outside. You just have to look inside. What is that satisfies you, and what is that job satisfaction that you're looking for? What is your worth? What is your value in the market? And these things are all it's very different for different people. So I wouldn't say, if you're stagnated and if you feel stuck or you're not enjoying your work, just find something that you love or a company or people you want to work with. You have to figure out what is that you are motivated for, what is that you like. I like to work with people. I don't want to work for big companies. I decided this some time ago. And I want to be challenged and learn different technologies and not work on one product forever. I decided that, move to freelance. So figure out, do things and figure out what is that you like, and then stick to it, because then it starts to get fun,
Okay, I just named the elephant in the room. Change your job.
Yes.
Really, it's the easiest thing. If you think they don't solve it and your manager can't solve it at one place, think about, don't have the fear to change the job to get something new, where you get challenged, where you think you can bring benefits to yourself and for the company.
And this is Hassan just fishing for it because he's now going to say that he's hiring.
By the way, I'm hiring, but that's I shouldn't say now. Any last words from you for the audience for getting to the seniority level? I think everyone is now senior, right? Without just our talking about it. No, to be honest, you have to do something. But any other words from you?
I would just like to add, like, most of these things that we mentioned, like how you become a senior or you're not a senior, whatever, depends a lot on the context of your current company, of the context on what is being looked for inside it. But at the same time, there are certain like shared requirements, like the soft skills, like having leadership or like having the tech skills, that it's just a matter of like you investing some time on that and really thinking about what you like.
Okay, I just heard we are over the time already. Thank you very much, everyone, for being here. It was a pleasure to have the panel here. Thank you very much for all our panelists.
Thank you.
I hope you had fun. Talk with them later on, outside of the stage, please, and having wonderful end of DroidCon this evening, and hopefully see you next year again.
Thank you.